I like to bring attention and remind people about our capacity to notice, because it's a doorway. Our capacity to notice is a bridge to being. It's kind of like being is our nature, and the capacity to notice is this first expression that being has within itself, that it's aware, it notices. It's the same thing, aware and noticing. And being aware makes things conscious. So you look. That's your capacity, is your ability to look and see and feel and sensing are also capacities of awareness. It's not just looking with the eyes, but it's looking with your whole being. This whole body is awareness. It notices. There's this big antenna, both taking in and broadcasting, transmitting, yeah? Taking in, receiving, an antenna that receives, and then transmitting agent. And pretty soon, if we start to live more and more from using our whole body, mind as a way to sense into our environment, we're learning how to directly experience. Right? Directly experiencing is much, it's much well, the only way really is if we're not interfering with what we're experiencing. So having the body be, in your sensing, be used intelligently, you access the capacity to directly experience. The mind has a lot of capacities, but directly experiencing is really not one of them. The mind has an aspect to it that is timeless too, as the body does, as every aspect of us has an aspect that's timeless. But in general, it lives in time. So let's engage our whole beingness and draw a big circle all around you. Include your feet and include all aspects of you, right? And say, this is all of me. And fully dive in to your life. So you can see how I'm like really fond of the body's intelligence being on board, getting on board. It's like a whole tree or a whole plant. We wouldn't want to just be focusing on one aspect of it and say that's the way it should move through in life. So the natural state, it's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful word, beautiful sentence, I guess, 3 words. The natural state. Well, it's not really a state, is it? It's the one thing that moves through all states. And what is that one thing? You. And that includes the me sense all the way to your vast cosmic self connection, all of it. That which is in time, seems to be in time, in the world, in our bodies, to that which is in the timeless. All of that is natural. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't. So what is it that kind of impedes feeling self-connected? What is it? You can look inside of yourself. What do you feel right now? If anything, maybe it's not there right now. If we're living in a state of allowance, as allowance, nothing impedes. Nothing. Right? Fear can come up, and anxiety can come up, and some tiredness can come in, or a little insecurity. But does that really impede what you are? Right. I mean, eventually it's like both and, something comes up and it's like, oh, fear. Well, we label it fear. Let's say it's energetic and the imprint feels like fear, right? It has a signature where you say that feels like fear. So closer than labeling it, it's just a vibration. And it's a vibration happening in the space that we are. Everything's just happening in the space that we are. And we get to notice it. And not just notice it, but get intimate with it, right? When we're not afraid of being hijacked by anything that's coming up, as if it's going to take us away from our natural state. We get curious, naturally curious about anything that comes up. Because it's happening in you. How could one ever be bored? There's this multiverse happening in you. And it's ever changing, right? It's always in flux and always moving. So that's what's in time, right? It's what's in flux and what's moving in this timelessness that you are. And that's why we become so enamored and, I don't know, maybe even delighted with the fact that we're awareness. First we sense it a bit and we long for it. And we have a long love affair with it, wooing it and playing hide and seek with what we are. Because we know in our hearts, we know in our being, in our soul, there's something more true than being addicted to and lost in these different states of consciousnesses that are coming and going all the time. We sense there's something else going on. And we're right. And then we start to get a taste more and more. Lean back into what we are, right? This big, open-hearted space of allowance, unconditioned nature. Just now we start to really, really get how painful it is to be hijacked away from this awareness, living as awareness. And not in order to deny our lives, but to bring balance and to have right relationship with that which is in time. All these conditioned states are in time. And the timeless is needed in a harmonious, balanced way, both and. So even if consciousness then gets kind of drawn to pay attention to something that's going on inside, some sadness or something, it's able to do that out of love and caring for itself, just like on the inside, just like you would do on the outside if you had the space to do it for someone. Without getting lost. Never lost again, never. And then one can go so deeply into that which is born when you know you're never ever lost. And then you get to have the mystery and the divinity of that which is all that is in form and born, including all these aspects of yourself. You get to discover that nothing ever takes you away. And you just actually know more and more and more about what God is made of. God in form. In order to do that, in order to really know God in form as yourself, as all of life, to really, really know it You have to not be afraid of it. And the only reason one would be afraid of it is because we get lost in it. So then you're not afraid of any kind of contraction inside. It might be a little unknown. It might be something to discover, but you're not afraid. And if fear comes up, you're not afraid of that. So you can see how, in a way, endless and evolutionary discovery is. There's an aspect of God that's in constant discovery and constant evolution of itself through us, as us. And then the timeless is married and inherent to everything. They co-arise. Time and timeless co-arise. So you can see how balance is necessary. And that's why sometimes we do need to lean into the transcendent for a while. Know ourselves as the timeless and being. And that's our love affair. That's what we get enamored with, you know. Be drawn to meditation or quiet or contemplation in nature. It's our being wanting to really know itself in a solid way. So it doesn't, so even within disturbance, I was going to say, so it doesn't get disturbed. That's not true. So even within disturbance, it's still itself. And that's, you know, this resolving the paradox of emptiness and form, that they do co-arise. It has to be experienced directly and lived. So that's the natural state. The natural state is one that's in harmony and balance with time and timeless, form and formless. So it doesn't resist form. And if it doesn't resist it, it's experiencing directly without resistance. We get glimpses of this all day long, wherever we're at on the spiritual journey. We call it spiritual journey. But we get glimpses all the time, all day long, actually. It's not glimpses, we get experiential, seamless experiential moments that are so seamless that we're not even aware of it. I mean, how could you not? Because we're all that. We're already that. So then it's just when the mind comes in to interpret reality and the moment that it can put a thin film. But even that can be seen and felt. And then you're back to being here. to being, aware of what you're experiencing. Even if you're aware of, it feels like I'm not quite here. It's really important to tell oneself the truth about what you're experiencing. You need to be very naked with it, raw. So then you're back to being here. It sounds interesting, huh? That as soon as you acknowledge awareness is there, noticing, the openness is there to recognize the experiential state that's going on. There's direct perceiving. Does that make sense? So you can never be lost too long. You don't have to wait till you're the ultimate finding, whatever that is. It's right now, okay? Right now you can open to what you're experiencing. Right now. And your awareness of it is your doorway. The awareness of it is already in harmony with it. It's really the doorway between the timeless and time is noticing. In an intimate way, not necessarily this removed mind kind of noticing, the witness stage, which is fine in itself, but more intimately through your whole being, noticing what we spoke about in the beginning with your sensing body. Notice with your whole being where you feel any possible sense of separation. Feel it. Tell yourself the truth. It has information for you. And then you can see that maybe what you're sensing is a real desire to experience life directly without any protection. Without any denial of life. And separation, the sense of separation, the feeling of it is just a longing. It's a longing for direct experiencing. So give it to yourself. You give it to yourself by feeling what you're feeling now. Directly experience maybe even any inner sense of separation. If it's there, you directly experience that. You have to go through the doorway that presents itself. You don't look for another doorway. It presents itself. Where you are at is your doorway. Don't have to imagine that there's a better one. It's tailor-made for you. And directly experience what you're sensing right now, and you're here. God experiencing itself as that, as this. The next moment, God experience itself as this. The states of consciousness are going to move all day long, the rest of your life. But the awareness and the ability to give attention is always here. And then it's like this eternal now flowing, yeah? Eternal now. I love that. I mean, I know now it's been used a lot, but it's, if you think about it, it's, the now is both time and timeless fused. Your attention is the timeless, and what it's paying attention to is time. The time and timeless fused. And so then it's like now, 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 now. Direct experiencing is happening now with whatever is arising. Don't go looking for another state. Don't imagine there's something better. Isn't good enough. So your doorway is always now. Become masterful at being here and letting attention touch this moment as it's presenting itself. It's talk about being in the moment, yeah. So it's like God always painting itself. You know those beautiful Japanese in the now moment paintings, you know, that are happening. It's it's symbolic of that. It's the paintbrush, the paint touching the paper, and this time touching the possibility of painting itself from the timeless, just in that flow of now. What's going to emerge? For the rest of your life. And if you really give yourself to this, to imagining that there's nothing more to be had, and being present to what's going on, and staying present, you're living the natural state, stateless state. That's it. That's the mystery solved. And if you forget, you forget. Remind yourself. What's going on? It's just a habit of mind, you know, to be in one step out of sync. Does anybody know what it feels like to be out of sync with yourself? A few people nodding and laughing. Well, I felt it in myself. It was very painful. Because the closer we become, we get to ourselves, and when we fall in sync, we really know when we're out of sync. When we're a little bit too far in the future, even one step, or a little bit too much in the past, even one step. You know, we're like, there's the flow of the river. And all we have to do is just let go into the river and be the river. But then when we stop or try to go forward or something, we're not flowing. Because we think that there's a better moment to be had. And being a spiritual seeker definitely gives us that feeling. As wonderful as full of possibilities being a seeker contains within it, one of the things that really inhibits being a knowing, living as knowing, rather than wanting to know, is imagining that it's something other than what's happening right now. Does that make sense? Good. Because I remember, just like, for me, my greatest teacher was nature. So I'd go out into the woods and nature and just look at things that were not complicated and confused. Really recommend spending time with either, so nature is best, but beings too, some beings are not confused. But spending time and just like parts of us relax and remember and get the transmission of what it's like to not be confused. And to be in sync with the moment and not be out of sync, which is really what the separate self, if you feel into the separate self sense inside, which I like to point out, it's not just a mental thing, we feel it, right? It feels like crap. So that separate self sense is a clue that we're feeling out of sync with our naturalness, right? And that's intelligence. It's not what's wrong. That's wise. You're lucky. You know, you're lucky either way, but you're really lucky if when we get a clue that something's off. Because then at least we're honing in on it. It's not unconscious. Not unconsciously running so much anymore. It's becoming conscious that there's a great dis-ease inside, and there's a real good reason for it. That we've turned into a concept of our own making, that we've become a concept. Our identity, our sense of ourselves is a concept. And it makes us feel separate from our naturalness, because we're not a concept. We're not a thought. And it just hurts to be thinking ourselves as a concept, because it's not true. Whatever's not true hurts. Okay. So rather than seeing it as something wrong, see it as something right. That the reminder is meant to hurt in order to wake us up to something. And then we follow that thread home. Because really it's a longing for home. Back to the timeless. That which isn't a concept to itself. Right? You. Just you. Even feeling as you. So there seems to be a process and journey and all that stuff, but really it's also very simple, and it needs to be simplified. I recommend making it as simple as possible. And just feel what you're feeling and sense into it with your whole being and be aware. And the infinite will reveal itself in the moment, as the moment. The infinite is contained in every moment. But first we have to slow down the habit of being out of sync with the moment. The momentum of the mind and body, of running away from ourselves. So it takes some retrainment, and it feels kind of maybe even boring at times, or not complicated enough, you know? But really it's where we're meeting our own resistance to something being simple, ourselves being simple. Like we want to make it complicated. But that's just more doing, right? The natural state is natural. It's uncomplicated. Simple. Unadorned. Sobering. Miraculously here. And take away all imagination. All layers of imagination. Spiritual imagination, defensive imagination, me, self, identity imagination. It's really a stripping down. Are you willing to be simple, unadorned, and have it look like not much? Take away all the specialness. Okay, so let's open it up.